In the heart of a sprawling mansion lived 4 children who were anything but ordinary. They were quadruplets, 2 boys and 2 girls, all bursting with boundless energy and wild imaginations. To most, their laughter and clever antics might have seemed adorable, but to those hired to care for them, it quickly became a nightmare. The children had a way of turning the grand hallways into racetracks, the kitchen into a science experiment, and the garden into a battlefield. Every new babysitter arrived with confidence, but within a few hours, they would storm out, frustrated and defeated, declaring the children impossible. It wasn't that the kids were bad at heart, they were spirited, clever, and full of life, but they craved attention and affection in ways no one seemed patient enough to provide. Their parents, wealthy and constantly busy with business and social obligations, watched helplessly as one caretaker after another gave up. It had become a cycle of hope and disappointment. Someone new would arrive with promises of discipline and order, only to leave before the day was done. The mansion echoed with chaos, but underneath the noise was something else, a quiet desperation. The parents feared that no one could handle their children, no one could truly connect with them. Despite all their wealth, they felt powerless, as though love and stability were luxuries they couldn't buy. And so the question lingered like a shadow in every corner of the house: who could possibly tame the untamable quadruplets? One quiet morning, after yet another nanny had left in tears, the mansion's doors opened to a woman who seemed entirely unlike the others who had come before. Her name was Maria. She walked with a limp, the lasting mark of an accident years ago, and her clothes were simple compared to the polished uniforms of the professional babysitters who had failed before her. She wasn't young, and she didn't carry herself with the brisk confidence of someone trained in child care. Instead, she moved slowly, carefully, her hands folded in front of her, her eyes kind but tired. The parents exchanged uneasy glances. How could a woman with such obvious limitations handle 4 children who had defeated the strongest, sharpest, and most experienced nannies? The mother whispered doubtfully, "She won't last an hour." But Maria, standing quietly in their grand living room, didn't flinch. She only offered a gentle smile and said in a soft voice, "Children don't need someone stronger than them. They need someone who will listen to their hearts." It wasn't the kind of answer they expected. Still, desperation outweighed doubt. They decided to give her a chance, thinking it might at least buy them a few hours of peace. As Maria made her way toward the children's playroom, she leaned slightly on her cane, her limp more visible with every step. The parents watched with heavy hearts, convinced they were about to witness another failure, yet unaware that this gentle woman was about to change everything. The quadruplets had already decided they would get rid of this new maid just like they had with all the others. As soon as Maria stepped into the playroom, their little eyes lit up with mischief. One child darted past her, knocking over a tower of blocks she hadn't even noticed yet. Another smeared paint across the wall with a mischievous grin, while the other 2 banged on toy drums so loudly it echoed through the house. They whispered to each other, planning tricks to test her patience, spilling juice on purpose, hiding her cane behind the couch, even shouting all at once just to overwhelm her. But Maria didn't shout. She didn't scold. Instead, she slowly lowered herself into a chair, her limp making the movement careful and deliberate. She looked at the children, not with frustration, but with warmth in her eyes. Then, in the midst of their chaos, she began to speak, not about rules, not about behaving, but about her own childhood. She told them how she once dreamed of running and playing like other kids but couldn't after her accident. She spoke of loneliness, of wanting friends who would see her, not her limp. For the first time, the children stopped. Their small faces softened with curiosity. No one had ever spoken to them like this, not as misbehaving kids, but as people with hearts that could understand. The noise faded into silence. In that moment, the children weren't trying to chase Maria away anymore. They were listening. Over the next few days, something remarkable began to happen. Maria never raised her voice, never threatened, never bribed. Instead, she invited the children into her world, teaching them lessons hidden in small, ordinary tasks. When she folded laundry, she asked the quadruplets to match the socks, turning it into a game of teamwork. When she swept the floor, she handed each of them a small brush, saying, "We finish faster when we help one another." Even her slow, careful walk became a lesson. She showed them how moving gently gave you time to notice the beauty around you, like the birds in the garden or the sunshine spilling through the windows. At first, the children only joined in out of curiosity. But soon, they began to look forward to Maria's calm presence. They competed to carry her tray to the dining room, giggling as they tried to balance it together. They learned to wait for her slower steps, walking beside her instead of racing ahead. And when one of the boys tripped one afternoon and burst into tears, the others rushed to him instinctively, kneeling just as Maria had once knelt to comfort them. The mansion, once echoing with endless chaos, now filled with laughter that carried a different tone, softer, kinder, warmer. The quadruplets, once wild storms, were learning patience, empathy, and love, not through discipline, but through Maria's quiet example. For the first time, the house felt like a home. One evening, the parents returned earlier than expected, bracing themselves for the usual disaster. But as they stepped into the mansion, they froze. Instead of screams and mess, they heard soft giggles drifting from the living room. Curious and cautious, they walked closer, and what they saw made their eyes well with tears. The quadruplets were sitting in a circle around Maria, each child leaning against her as she read aloud from an old storybook. One girl rested her head on Maria's shoulder, one boy gently held her hand, while the other two listened with wide, peaceful eyes. The chaos that had once ruled their home was gone, replaced by harmony they never thought possible. Overwhelmed, the mother whispered, "How did you do this? Every nanny gave up, every professional failed, what's your secret?" Maria looked up from the book, her voice as gentle as ever. "I didn't try to control them. I loved them. That's all children ever really need." In that moment, the parents realized something no amount of wealth or strict rules had ever taught them: love and patience were far stronger than discipline or authority. Their hearts swelled with gratitude, knowing this humble, disabled maid had given their children something priceless. The mansion no longer felt like a battlefield. It felt like a sanctuary filled with warmth, laughter, and love. And from that day forward, Maria wasn't just the maid, she became the heart of the family, the one who proved that true strength lies in kindness.